From trigger-happy witches to clowning around to find your canine companion, and I play one of the most expensive PC Engine CD games. And was it worth it? This and more with Play and Tell. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Play and Tell. I'm your host, Xander Skullion, where I talk about games I've been playing and leave little short impressions and mini reviews, and most importantly, when you walk away, you have something new to play. With combining two genres, Trigger Witch is a bullet hell shooter with a Zelda-like exploration that delivers a fantastic flavor for any gaming palate. You play as Colette, the witch that has been given her first firearm, and from here you carry out the classic action-adventure flair, going from dungeon to dungeon, tackling environmental puzzles, and grabbing collectibles and unique weapons and so on. However, Trigger Witch sees each screen of the overworld or a room or a dungeon as a chance to throw you into a twin-stick shooting range. So make sure to loosen up your thumbs since these baddies swarm you at every turn. This game right here is the epitome of why I started this segment on the channel. You guys know, I like to kind of window shop on the Nintendo Switch eShop, and this was a game that I saw and I was like, you know, let me go ahead and give it a try. And it's by far one of my favorite games I've played in a very long time. I love the graphic style, I love the sprite work, and I really like the writing. The writing has so many puns. I'm a sucker for dad jokes, and there's so many gun puns in this game. It's definitely not shooting blanks. And you know, it was one of those games that I thought was so good that I just wanted to share it with everyone. As a matter of fact, my friend Rick, who I share a very similar gaming palette with, I showed him the game and he was like, oh man, I can't wait to play this. I went ahead and got him a copy. I was like, hey, here, have a copy of Trigger Witch. And now that's became one of his favorite games of the year. It's a game of the year contender for him. So I really cannot stress enough how awesome Trigger Witch is. If you're a big fan of games like Enter the Gungeon and you're a big fan of course, the Zelda series, this is definitely a game to check out. And honestly, if they do release a physical edition, this definitely will be a game I will double dip on. Now, since the last episode, personally, I was going through a breakup. I was really depressed, and what better way to fight depression than to play some video games? And I was thinking, I need to find a game that's going to take me a while, that would just be a slow, grinding, just a game to really keep my mind off things. And I went and got a copy of Noctorn, the HD remaster. When it comes to the story, you take control of a high school student caught in the middle of a global event dubbed The Conception, brought by a cult with a global rebooting of the world. You are reborn as a demi-fiend, a human-demon hybrid. While traveling this demon-filled world, you recruit demons to join your team as party members, and also finding other human survivors who seek to help or use you to save or conquer the new world. Your choices with interacting with those characters will decide which ending you obtain by the end of your journey. What's interesting about this game is, you know, admittedly, and I'm speaking for myself, you know, going through that depressing state, this was not the game for me to play. See, I really like this game. I love the premises behind it. I love, you know, the fact that you have to kind of barter with demons and have them join your party, and there's all these different fusions. It's kind of like a cult Pokemon, but the game itself has such a feeling to it. And I heard a lot of people talk about it in the past, but to see it firsthand, it really is a lonely game. It definitely has you feeling just isolated, you know, because you're in this like Tokyo world, and you know, just about everyone's gone. Like the NPCs are specters of former people, and they're like spirits, and the only companionship you really get in the game is some of the characters that you run into in the game and the demons, and that's pretty much it. So if you're looking for more of a traditional JRPG, Noctorn is definitely a different game in that aspect. It's a very grindy game. It's got a fantastic soundtrack, a fantastic atmosphere, but admittedly, you know, going through the depression, this was not a game to play. I felt myself sinking lower and lower. And again, I'm speaking for myself. This is a game I definitely will go back to because so far what I've played of it, I really enjoyed it, and I do recommend it. Now, going completely off the spectrum, when I actually ordered a copy of Noctorn, I ordered another game. I ordered a copy of RType Final 2, and big props to Amazon. I thought I was just getting the physical copy, but I actually got the pilot edition that comes with art book and also a mini sampler CD. I couldn't tell you the last time I've gotten a video game soundtrack. So that was a very pleasant surprise and very different on the spectrum to Noctorn, because of course RType is a, you know, shooter or shmup, some people like to call them, but you know, RType has a very special place in my heart. The very first time I ever played RType was actually in a Pizza Hut, back when Pizza Hut used to congratulate kids for reading with free pizzas, and you could play arcade games and the waiters and waitresses would come to your table with a cast iron skillet of a pan pizza. But coming from a long-time RType fan, this is definitely such a love letter to the series. It has so many unlockables. You have so many ships that you can unlock. It does have DLC, which I don't have at the moment. I'll definitely check it out. But one thing I will say about RType Final 2, this is a difficult game. If you play this game on easy, I will not judge you. This was a very difficult game, but you know, just like all bullet hell shooters, if you kind of start memorizing the character patterns, start trying to find your own way of going through the levels and picking out certain ships and weapons and upgrading, it definitely gets a little easier. But this is definitely not a novice bullet hell shooter. This is definitely for the bullet hell veterans out there. But coming from someone like myself who grew up playing RType, I really enjoyed it, and I love the soundtrack. I'm so glad I got a sampler CD. And for 30 bucks for a physical on Amazon, and you get like the pilot edition, it's a no-brainer. Definitely check it out. Now, actually, my friend Power Level Amy did a review recently for a game called AO the Clown. And admittedly, seeing the box cover, if I was to see it on the Nintendo eShop, I probably would just made a hard pass on it because, you know, I love my platformers, but this game at first didn't look like it would appeal to me. But I watched her review, and she sold me. I was like, you know, I'll go and check this out. And this was like the platformer I needed. Have you ever had that moment where you just find that game that just fits your mode, and that was that game that fit that time? I was like, this is perfect. It's not a difficult platformer by all stretches of the imagination, but it's a fun platformer. If you're a big fan of games like Little Big Planet and Yoshi's Story, you'll feel right at home with AO the Clown, and the art style is absolutely adorable. It's got like this whimsical kind of feel to it with the soundtrack, and I really love the character models. And you're just trying to find your dog. You're a clown, you're trying to find your dog. It's like John Wick, but with clowns on LSD. It's definitely a game that, honestly, even though I spent $20 on the eShop, it was worth every single penny. And I actually bought something recently, and you guys know I love emulation, and this was, to me, was a really good purchase. I actually bought a NVIDIA Shield. Now, this has been out since 2015. This is the 2019 model, and it's an Android box. It's a multimedia Android box TV, and you know, you can use it to watch Netflix and Hulu, but with it being an Android box, you can actually download emulators, and I will say it doesn't come with a whole lot of memory, so I wouldn't suggest getting an SD card, a micro SD, and loading it up with the ROMs, because I think this only comes with 8 gigs of memory, which fills up pretty fast. But what makes this special, because you guys know I have a Raspberry Pi, but what makes this special is it's pretty powerful. It actually emulates Sega Saturn. So I had a whole weekend. I was calling it, you know, Saturn Saturday and Saturn Sunday. I was just like playing so much Sega Saturn using the NVIDIA Shield. And I know a lot of folks, you know, there's like a common myth that Sega Saturn is just impossible to emulate. Same with N64, but let me tell you, the NVIDIA Shield can emulate everything from the 8-bit era all the way up to the GameCube. Now, it can't do a PS2, so if you're getting this for PS2 emulation, you will be sadly disappointed, but even PSP plays really, really well on this, and Dreamcast just, wow, it looks so good. And I mainly got this for Sega Saturn though. Some of the games work better than others, but for the most part, it's pretty playable. And a lot of games I enjoy on the Sega Saturn, I can play with the NVIDIA Shield, no problem whatsoever. Now the controller, because when I got this NVIDIA Shield, it didn't come with a controller. Any Bluetooth controller can work on the NVIDIA Shield, but since I'm playing with the Sega Saturn emulation, I wanted to use my 8BitDo M30 controller. Now from first glance, a lot of folks are like, oh, this is like a Sega Genesis controller, but be honest, with its shoulder buttons, it kind of makes me think of the Sega Saturn Model 2 controller. And to me, this is the best way to enjoy Sega Saturn if you don't have the OG hardware. Now, like I said, some of the games on this emulation don't run the best, but for the most part, a lot of games that I threw at it was very capable of having some really good emulation and played really, really well. But yeah, I've been mostly using the NVIDIA Shield for Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, PSP, N64, a lot of the things that, of course, my Raspberry Pi couldn't handle. And of course, speaking of emulation, I actually got to try out a game that's been on my radar for years. I'm like, man, I really want to play this game. And of course, that is on the PC Engine CD, and that is Sapphire. Sapphire is probably one of the most impressive looking PC Engine CD games I've ever seen. This game is absolutely marvelous, and it really takes advantage of the arcade card that was for the PC Engine. And it's hard to believe, you know, when you're looking at this game, that this was pretty much an 8-bit console. I mean, it had a little bit more processing power than the NES, but it wasn't a true 16-bit console. And with the CD quality soundtrack and the anime cutscenes, the game itself opens up to almost like a Blade Runner kind of look, because you have like the giant blimps and the hologram billboards. It's a marvel to be looking at. I absolutely really enjoyed it, and it's such an expensive game now. I was looking at some of the prices on eBay, and it's just insane how expensive this game is. And I think even they made reproductions a couple of years ago that are still very expensive. So, thanks to the power of emulation, you're able to play this game and truly enjoy it and really just soak in that great shooter atmosphere. I absolutely love it. But anyway, guys, those are some games I've been playing recently. What have you been playing? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and some of your opinions if you've tried out some of these games as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, but also hit that bell so you're notified on all future videos that come out on this channel. Matter of fact, stay tuned, because I got Play and Tell episode 26 right around the corner. I've already been playing a whole lot of games since making this video. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.